Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Oscar Vest. Trevor here, joined by Thomas as always. And we got part 2 of Barbenheimer or Boppenheimer, if you're one of those people. And it's the Inheimer part. We got Christopher Nolan's latest, and not to bury the leader, just like a great weekend for movies that we have just two incredible films that will give you existential crisis in very different ways.
Yes, no, for sure. And I think this film, as much as I probably preferred Barbie to a certain extent, or that had more of an impact on me, like both films are incredible. Don't get me wrong. In Oppenheimer, there is so much to love in it. Where do you begin? Again, it's a monumental just film in terms of everything going on. I mean, there's text to appreciate, there's performances to appreciate, the way he constructs a narrative to keep it sort of energetic throughout. There's just so much to appreciate. I don't know where we want to begin.
I went through a bit of a journey with this film because if you follow me on Twitter, I was rambling for an entire afternoon because I watched it the first time and it didn't entirely click with me. It felt bloated and it felt weirdly paced, but I couldn't explain why. And I think it's because it really does leave everything until the final 20 minutes to pull all of its pieces together. And we will talk about spoilers. But it feels like it's going in a lot of different directions, and its themes are all going in so many different directions. And then it all really clicks in those last couple of minutes. And I think that I was just exhausted from trying to keep up with the film throughout the entirety of its runtime. But on second watch, God, what a film. I'm also famously not a very big Christopher Nolan fan. I think this is his best.
I think it is close. I would personally put The Dark Knight just above it, but I think it is better than Dunkirk. Probably. I mean, Chris Nolan, I like a lot of his films. I think there are some standouts, but this is definitely amongst at least the top echelon of Nolan films. 100%.
And it's really asking for a lot of audience engagement. And if it doesn't work for you the first time, I would really recommend the second viewing. I'm really happy that I did. I did do it only 4 hours after watching it the first time, so I was really exhausted. But it's just really a monumental work of storytelling. I mean, the directorial vision that Nolan has for this is just monstrous. I hate how much of a Nolan fanboy I'm sounding because of how negative I've been on Nolan in the past. But really, this is enough to make me a Nolan fanboy.
I think yes, Nolan has a very impressive ability to make the audience feel clever when watching his films. I genuinely think that is the reason he is so popular, is because he makes you as an audience member feel clever. There are so many, his narrative structure is so tightly woven together that there are elements that you sort of don't pick up on, but it's sort of playing on your mind, and they come back later and you're like, oh yeah, I do remember that. And you start making the connections. He forces you as a viewer to actively sort of engage with what is going on and to make those connections yourself and to really understand what's happening. So, and I think that just enhances this experience so much more than if this was just a regular biopic, which is sort of just paint by numbers, just showing his life. No, the way he played around with time, the way he played around with narrative structure is really what makes this, for me at least, just so impressive. I think the editing as well needs to be highlighted for that alone. The way he edits between these free time streams. I don't know.
Yeah, because we have the main Oppenheimer story of when he's doing the bomb, and then we got the Shroud
hearing. We
have his hearing, and then we have a Robert Downey Jr.
Then the way he plays about with each of them and how each of them narratively somehow consequences in one have consequences in the other, which doesn't make any sense because
they're tapping in at different times.
It just all goes back to the way he structures his film and how tightly it's done, how every element somehow seems purposeful and somehow seems to link to another, even though it's also 3 hours long or whatever. So very impressive, and it keeps you engaged throughout. It's never boring.
Which the first time I watched it was a bit bored. Second time, so much momentum. There's so much momentum in this film. I was just very incorrect the first time I watched this, and I still do have some problems with it.
Oh yeah.
There are moments where Nolan'd a bit too hard. Particularly his just complete disregard of trying to sound mix. Which I know is not on him, but just
I'll be honest. I did have some problems hearing, especially with the opening bits of the Robert Downey Jr. Strauss stuff. I don't know what, it sounded like we were in this massive hall, which sure they probably are in a massive hall, but I don't need to have the acoustic sound like that. Thank you, Nolan.
Yeah, just some weird choices. The sound editing, brilliant. The sound mixing,
yeah,
it leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, which is the exact same problem I had with Spider-Verse, and the exact same reason that we need to have 2 categories of the Oscars. It's not that hard.
Yep.
Like the same
Two
problem.
very different things.
Yeah.
I don't know. But really though, the technicals are so impressive. I mean, the cinematography and the editing, as we mentioned with the editing, but just like the cinematography, a beautiful looking movie. I mean, especially just like all of the cutaways into the mind of Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
Just really stunning looking, and I love how like experimental this is with form. It's really, I mean, it's just amazing to see something that is as bold as this with its imagery and the way that it constructs its imagery. Just on a big IMAX screen. Just something really special to behold.
Yeah. And it's not just the bomb scene either. Like there is so much more to it than that. It's not just the bomb scene that is having all these technical elements. Like yes, probably those are where the highlights are in terms of the technical stuff with the sound and cinematography, but it is constantly throughout the film. And another element technically as well is the score. I think the score is what really
it gives it so much momentum and pace.
Exactly, because it feels like you're almost watching, like the score is guiding you through the film in a way, which is very,
and it's like it's
stuff.
so like it's nice to I've listened to the score all the way through since watching the film, and like it feels like eerily pleasant at first, and then it's just slowly like marching to just like this horrible, miserable, like the final track, Destroyer of World, will like straight up give me a panic attack.
Yeah, like Nolan knows how to use music. I think that is evident.
Yes.
I think that's the best part of like Interstellar as well. I don't like Interstellar's fine, but
like
the best part probably is the score, and this is the same with a lot of Nolan films. It is the score that is often what is providing the emotion. Which, like, I get it, the Nolan not being emotionally cold. I can understand why some people might think his films that. I do think a lot of the time the score does bring the emotion, whereas in this case I think it complements it and thus great.
This is, I think, Nolan's most emotionally effective
because
film.
You actually have emotion, like characters to follow, their relationships and stuff, but it's complemented with this thing that is sort of you are latching onto, and then just creating.
I mean, and talking about the characters, it's so complex and dense. Like I saw people comparing it to Tar beforehand, and I didn't get that on first watch. And second watch, I do really get that, because it truly is just an examination of this person's mind. I mean, it's a character study in every sense of the words. And it's really effective in its a character study as well. And it's I know it's a very subjective choice of framing a lot with the cinematography that I think really makes it work. And we see that a lot with Nolan stuff. I think that it's also really effectively used in Memento, which I think is his second best film behind this. And just a lot of those subjective choices, like I think honestly my favorite sequence, like yes, there's the Trinity test, yes, there's the ending. I honestly think my favorite sequence is when he's speaking to a hall of people, and it looks like it's on like a basketball court immediately after the bombing in Japan, and it is horrifying. I mean, it's straight up a horror film. As he's kind of reckoning with what he's done, and just watching all of these people cheer and applaud this horrendous, I mean, war crime that, has just been committed, and watching, like the sound go out again, like the sound editing, brilliant. It's coming into his mind of like what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and it's like infiltrating his mind. And again, as you say, how it plays that momentum then into the other sequences. I don't know how it works, but it really, really does. As every single story just slowly gets more and more horrifying and like shattering.
And it's Nolan's restraint in a way, which is weird to say for a 2.5.
Nolan's restraint,
like this is not a restrained film by any means, but his restraint to just focus on Oppenheimer as a character really just makes the film like we could have had. A lesser director would have introduced the character of Rami Malek and explained who he was and all of that kind of stuff. We don't need to know that though. We just need a general gist of who he is. Similarly with like Alden Ehrenreich or any other character, like actor in the film, we don't need to know everything about them. We just need they almost just sort of pawns to get Oppenheimer to where he is, and this is a sort of character study. And a lot of times I'd be like, well, I'd like a bit of characterization, but when you do have such a compelling lead performance combined with such a compelling character in general, I don't think it matters. I think you get all the characterization, all the emotion you need just from following him, which is why I'm not also as bugged as like Emily Blunt and Florence Pugh being sort of, they're under characterized, isn't that?
I mean, to be fair, the way that they are written as female characters,
I understand that, but I don't think their lack of characterization is necessarily as big a flaw when like all of the characters essentially. Minus
that isn't the problem. Nolan still has the problem with just writing women's dialogue. I think is
maybe potentially but I do think the lack of characterization on
I don't think that's
maybe not as big a flaw as some people are making that out to be.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, it is just a joke that Nolan doesn't know how to write women. But yeah, no, I think that's fine. We didn't talk about the lead performance, but like Cillian Murphy. No,
I mean,
my God, sir. I mean,
I can very easily see myself at the end of the year going, he would be my pick for lead actor. That would be better for you. And I can very easily see that. So
I mean, it is comparable to I think Cate Blanchett saw her last year.
100%.
It's that level of work. I mean,
his eyes are unnatural.
We said at the same time,
they're not. I don't.
Seeing those eyes in IMAX is just like never leaving my mind.
No.
But
also, like Emily Blunt is quite good in what limited time she gets. Matt Damon is quite good. He's probably better than he is in the entirety of Air, I'd argue. And then Robert Downey Jr. as well. I don't know where this Oscar hype has sprung up from. I mean, he's a very, very good performance.
He's good.
He's good, but I don't know where the win conversation is coming in.
I don't know why we've latched onto him. It almost just feels like people like after watching Iron Man are just like, oh look, he's in another thing. Remember him? And it's like, sure, that's fine. Like, if we want to give Robert Downey Jr. something, I guess. Like,
because he is good. He is good in this film.
I also want to talk about briefly the politics of this film. Nolan, he's had some questionable politics in his films in the past, and you could equate some of the stuff in like the Dark Knight trilogy, which I think is just pretty in poor taste, some of the politics in those films.
Well, they're good though.
I think you could attribute those to like David Esquire's writing or whatever. The politics in this film actually really surprised me how sympathetic it was to left-wing views. And also, it is a complete takedown of American exceptionalism, and that made me so happy. I love a solid anti-America, anti-war, and type film. And like it's interesting the conversation around anti-war films. And I think it is really hard to make a good anti-war film, and we saw it with like All Quiet on the Western Front last year. It's hard. I don't fully agree with the idea that like you can't make an anti-war film. Because like I do think that Oppenheimer does it quite well. But it is hard when you have like, soldiers and stuff, and it's like, oh, you're showing the horrors of war, but you still have to be rooting for these people to go and like kill people and whatever to like, be like, they're doing a great job because you need heroes in the story. And I think that this is quite interesting because, we never actually see the war. We just see the machine behind the war and the military industrial complex and horrors of that. And I honestly think that is one of the most effective routes to create an anti-war film that I've seen.
Yeah. And it's also like, it's not necessarily presenting Oppenheimer as a hero. It is balanced in that regard. Like, yes, it is sympathetic to some of his things, some of his ideas, but it also does respect the fact that, well, maybe he was a bit self-important.
Because like if you're following soldiers, you're rooting for them to make it out alive, and you're rooting for them to achieve their goal. With this, like we all know the bomb, we aren't really rooting for him to succeed the entire time.
No, and I think that's good because we know he succeeds. We know he makes the bomb. Like, so
it's just the horror of like we know the entire time that it's happening, but we don't want him to succeed. And then we're seeing him initially want to succeed and then realize that he shouldn't have been doing this in the first place.
Which I think, given the context of obviously knowing where we are in the world now with nuclear bombs, I think adds to this impending doom, and it just makes it all the more relevant, all the more important, like, especially the ending.
Final sequence. My God, Christopher. Again, perfect. Okay, you're gonna laugh at me, but I do think it is an amazing double feature with Barbie because they both gave me existential crises in very different ways with their endings. Because like, yeah, like
No, Barbie is about what it means to be human, and Oppenheimer is about what it means to destroy humans. So
exactly,
yeah. I'm coming around to the idea of it being
it's a
maybe
great double feature.
But yes, no. So I think that additional context just adds to this impending doom and adds to the momentum of it all, and just adds to this sort of tragic feeling that you get throughout. You know, you're on a collision course for just not very good stuff to put not very elegantly. So, and you're just constantly riveted throughout, constantly watching, and it's thanks to music, it's thanks to Cillian Murphy's performance keeping you through, and it's thanks to the way Nolan has like constructed this story.
Yeah, and this is a fantastic biopic and a fantastic historical film. And why is we talked about this with Air, and I don't think that something like Air works because the entire film is hinging on, will they, like a lot of the plot is hinging on like, will they make the shoe? Will they be able to sell the shoe? Are they going to be able to sell? Are they going to be able to like make the deal? Like all these things. And we already know that happens because it is literally the most famous shoe of all time. And somebody, I was talking to someone afterwards and they brought up Titanic and they were like, okay, well, what about Titanic? Because we all know that Titanic sinks. So wouldn't that be the same thing? And it isn't, because it's not about whether the Titanic is going to sink or not. It's about the characters and the characters' relationships. And I think that Oppenheimer works so much in the same way, in that it isn't about like, oh, is the, he going to make the bomb? Is he going to be able to, because like, again, a lesser filmmaker could have constructed this around like, is he going to be able to get the funding? Is he going to be able to like put together his team? Will he be able to make the bomb? But it isn't about that. It isn't about him making the bomb. It is really about like him and his connection to the world and how his view of the world changes over the years because of what he has done. Because even from the first scene of the film, the bomb has already been made. We're in the hearing. And I think that that's what makes this work so well as an historical film, because so many historical films just hinge on events that we already know happen. And the best ones go in the face of that and, say like, we know that this already happened, so let's just not even make
like it's not about the like his effect on the world around him, it's about the world around him sort of effect on him, and we are like seeing that through his perspective, which is just a very impressive like it's not the direction I necessarily thought that this film was going to go in. So like my expectations were blown out of the water with what Nolan was doing. And I could comfortably say, as we said at the preface of this video, that this is definitely one of Nolan's best films, in my opinion.
Yeah, and again, you can look at my Letterboxd. Very famously not a very big fan of a lot of Nolan's work. But now Oppenheimer, which I think is like by a wide margin his best. Let's talk about Oscars briefly. Best Picture, I think it can win.
I think it can. The only thing, and people have pointed this out, we're not the first people, it's not a very feel-good film. You don't
it's not gonna make you very happy at the end.
No, when looking at everything all at once, sure, there's depressing moments to the feel-good film. Coda, very feel-good film.
Sure. Even Nomadland ends with a glimmer of hope. Like Oppenheimer is quite challenging, and it rewards you with making you feel like depressed. So I don't know how much they'll go for a cold film. Like it would be like Tar winning Best Picture.
It's a type of film that people might struggle to re-watch towards the end of the year. Like they'll happily see it 3 times in cinemas.
I'm seeing
get the DVD, see it
again, but
exactly, But then come December time, will people really be going back to Oppenheimer? In which case, I think it might struggle to build that momentum necessary to just sort of build a campaign. So I think it's obviously very, very, very solidly in Best Picture because of all the other.
It's very much a top contender.
It can very much be a top contender, especially since, as we mentioned, the relevant topical stuff with nukes at the moment, especially with the Russia-Ukraine war, etc., etc. So it does have a message. It does feel important. But we'll have to see. I'm a bit skeptical as to it winning Best Picture.
I think it is among that top 4 of Past Lives, Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Barbie. I think that I feel really good about those as like a top 4 right now. Director though, I think this might be Nolan's moment, and honestly, again, this film has been enough to convert me into a Nolan fan for the season. Because it's an achievement. and it's an achievement that deserves recognition.
100%.
I honestly feel good about this at
well,
number
yes,
one.
because it makes more sense than Martin Scorsese, definitely.
Right.
I think it will be more of a directorial achievement.
Yeah.
Like it's something that's very easy to nominate, to give the win, sorry, especially since Nolan, narrative around that
He's
easily
Christopher Nolan.
formed. Exactly. So I think the only other contender would be like something like Jonathan Glaze, where it just comes out and it's sort of this more passion pick towards the end of the year. But I don't see that. Yeah, I think Nolan does make
Nolan
sense
feels quite good, and again, well deserved. It's so well deserved. So then actor again, Cillian Murphy. It's gonna be him versus Bradley Cooper.
Yeah.
Probably an incredibly well done and nuanced biopic, Cillian Murphy, versus a makeup blow on a face biopic like Maestro.
Yes.
And who knows? Maestro hasn't come out yet. Maybe it will be good. We shouldn't judge it before it comes out. But I mean, yeah, Cillian I think should win, and I think he will.
I think he can. Exactly. I think there's a narrative that makes sense.
I'm hung up on makeup.
I'm
hung up on the makeup thing.
I know, but he is a very popular person in what will be a very popular film amongst the Academy. Yeah. He is the star of it, and he's doing a lot. It just sort of anything in real life.
I know it makes sense, and he's top two. He's top two at minimum.
There is a lot of reasons why one would vote for Cillian Murphy to win this cast.
So then you got RDJ, which has for some reason built up a lot of hype. Like again, he's good. The nomination makes sense. I don't think he can win.
I think it would be a weird win. I mean, he is in the film a lot. He does get about an hour of screen time, which for a supporting performance is very good. I mean, obviously in relation to the actual film itself, in terms of the film being 3 hours. So it is only a third, but he really does feel like he impacts the film. He is definitely a standout amongst the supporting cast, which is another thing we thought about maybe going in. Like, is there going to be too many people who are really going to pull out? But no, RDJ does establish himself.
Yeah.
So I can see a case being made, maybe an overdue narrative, whatever. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Weird though. It still feels weird.
I'm not sure. Even though I did love the film, I wouldn't vote for him to win.
Right. Sure. Yeah. I mean, we got that Kennergy there. And then Emily Blunt, I don't really think would happen. I've seen some people say her for supporting actress. I don't see it.
The category's weak. If the category stays weak throughout the series, then maybe, but I doubt it.
Adapted screenplay will probably happen. It isn't adapted. Based off of his memoir, I believe, or Oppenheimer or something like that. So yeah, I think it makes sense there. Very dialogue heavy. Initially, again, we were concerned like Nolan and writing. Will that actually happen? Yeah, this would make sense.
Yeah,
this
especially just the scenes with Matt Damon. I just thought, this is screenplay locked up. Yeah.
Again, stacked category though because that's Killers of the Flower Moon and Barbie and
I think if the film's in Best Picture win contention, this could.
I think it could take on Barbie there. We currently have Barbie number one. I think it could take on Barbie if it wins. If it's not winning, I think Barbie wins. But it's also July, so who knows? And then just going through cinematography win, editing win. Sound win. It's not VFX. There's no VFX in this movie. Obviously there are some VFX, but there's no CGI and they don't really go for practical effects. So I don't think it will happen at all. They have I think 10, 15 people in the VFX team. It's tiny. So yeah, but cinematography, editing, sound, come on.
Especially June, possibly moving,
and Color Purple.
And Color Purple as well. Well, June for tech wins,
for tech wins, yeah.
June could have potentially been winning that.
Also, don't know. I forgot to mention score. By the way, Ludwig Göransson, get your Oscar, sir.
Yeah.
I also do love the Spider-Verse score quite a bit, but
it's not gonna win. No,
this is winning, and deservedly so. Again, you gives me a panic attack. That deserves an Oscar. Yeah. It's gonna do really this and Barbie are just honestly gonna between the two of them clean up all the tech categories.
Very
most if not all. And deservedly so. Yeah. So that's where we're at. Again, I think that this it's in that conversation in Best Picture. It's weird because Barbie and Oppenheimer, they could make sense in a vacuum, but they each have very strong arguments against them. Barbie is that, and both of them are really tone. Oppenheimer, very cold. Barbie, almost too warm, if that's, I guess, a way to describe it.
Yeah, sure.
Too campy, I guess. And then you have Past Lives, which is just the question of will enough people see it and go for it. In Killers of the Flower Moon, it's just that feels like the thing that is in the front and doesn't end up happening. So it's a really interesting conversation between those four. But the important thing is that we just had a great weekend of cinema, everybody, between Oppenheimer and Barbie. Two amazing movies. We did, not that it's a competition between the two. We both came out, I think, Team Barbie, but like
sure,
we're team cinema. We're team cinema.
Exactly. Like I'd give this a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, it's a 9 out of 10 for me as well.
19 out of 20. So that's a
19 out of 20 on the weekend. I mean, that's pretty incredible. We're teams like great blockbuster movies being made.
I don't think that's a team. Sure.
that is the team that I am on. If there's nothing, I'm going to make the team. Thomas, would you like to join my team of team great blockbuster movies being made?
Can I say no?
No, you cannot.
Then yes.
All right, cool. So we got 2, so that makes it a team.
That makes it a team.
That is it. We've given Oppenheimer a 9. Go watch all these movies. They're great. Movies. You know, the Keanu Reeves thing. I love movies. I love making them. I love watching them. Cinema, everybody. Cinema. Thank you everybody for watching. You can support. There's links to support the SAG and WJ strikes in the description, as well as our social media. So use those as you choose. But that is all. Thank you everybody for watching. Stay safe and goodbye.